What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Man Pedal Garage. I'm Jason, and my Mustang is not here at the moment. It is at the shop getting tuned, so I thought that in the meantime, we would head over to my friend Jamie's garage, Southern Performance, and we'll go over Coyote Swaps and what you need to know.
Yeah, are you ready? That's the real question. Am I ready?
Finally made it to Southern Performance. This is my friend Jamie Bell, and he specializes in engine swaps. Jamie, what do we got going on today?
So this is a 67 Mustang fastback. What we have here is a Gen 2 Coyote and 6R8.
When you go do a swap like this, what's your order of operations? Where do you start? Engine?
So get the engine in it, get it fitted, figure out what room you have, where everything needs to be at.
Yeah. So, we built an F-150 together. The first thing we did, we positioned it in the car. I fabricated some engine mounts for it with your help. And we went over alternator location. Did we do power steering on that one?
We looked for what room we had between the power steering. On that particular build, it was an 86.
Yeah.
You can use the Crown Vic front end stuff on the F-150, F-100 and stuff like that. In that situation, we didn't.
Cut through things, still got brackets to work and everything. But once the engine was in the car, once we had brackets made and it was mounted in there, you took over. What was the first thing you did? Was it PCM location, wiring? Okay.
So, at that point, I basically took apart all the harness that was there. That was original to the engine. Took it apart and kept it because a lot of the body harness is kind of integrated in with the engine harness on those. Wiring is 70% of every Coyote swap for me.
The stock harness, is that what you use most of the time, or is there another wiring harness that you recommend?
Yeah. So the engines, whether it be F-150, whether it be Mustang, you always have that engine harness for that particular one. Gen 1 Coyote, Gen 2 Coyote, Gen 3 Coyote, the F-150 and the Mustang, they're going to use different harnesses.
Yeah.
That harness you usually won't have to mess with unless you have to lengthen it to move the PCM somewhere else. So trying to wire plug it or something.
Stock, it would be the easiest route to go.
This part you're not going to mess with. The part you usually mess with is where it is on the other side of things, on the PCM side
which this PCM is here, which will be out of the way from water.
That's I guess technically the swap harness part. This plugs right into the PCM, no big deal.
Okay.
The swap harness end of it comes on the other end of it. That's a lot of. You can do it one of many ways. You can use power by the hour swap harness. You can use floor tire pack swap harness, or if you're on a budget, you can buy that $120 book I have over there, wire diagram, and you can build your own harness.
Yeah.
You cut your connector off and you figure out what all you need, what you don't need, and you build it and you run your wires yourself. It'll be your CAN bus, your O2 stuff like that. You go to the details of it. It can be a lot.
Yeah. I think wiring is probably the most technical and difficult side of all of it, really.
So because you're having to think so far out ahead of what you have. Like this car, it has classic auto air, it has electronic brakes, it has electronic fan, it has decoded digitals, it has New Relics power windows, and it has a brand new American Auto Wire harness, body harness. So you're thinking each step ahead. That way, when you run your wiring, everything is clean. It's not. I hate for things that ever look like an afterthought. I want it to look like it came that way.
So you said there was 3 key factors that you want to look at, and every time you consider a swap.
Every swap is its own entity. Some things will be a lot different. This is a lot different than a Fox body. You're going to have different variables to consider. Starting the car, stopping the car, and steering the car.
Right.
There's 3 big things with the Coyote Swap because this car in particular, the brakes, you don't have, like I had, Fox body or S95 when you use hydro boost. You can use that here. You don't have enough room for all that.
Right.
So we have either manual brakes or electronic brakes. We're doing electronic brakes on that. That's how you stop it. Starting it is your harness. That's your power by the hour harness, your 4 power pack, or your custom made swap harness you make yourself.
Right.
You have to figure out which harness you're going to go with, where you're going to put it. You don't want to put it anywhere close to a header. You got to think out ahead. Steering the car, power steering is so much different on every single Coyote Swap.
Oh yeah.
This car uses an SN95 power steering pump that you find on UHGT. It uses power by the hour kit where it turns the alternator around, and basically the power steering lines will make it, and it uses a Mustang 2 front rack and pinion, basically like a Fox body or new age. In some swaps, most swaps, especially like F100, you can still keep the factory booster or add a booster to it, and it works really well if you pair it with like a good set of brakes as well, wheel or something like that. Obviously, I wouldn't recommend putting a hopped up Coyote and full nose F-150 and keeping drums or whatever in the rear. It's not like a bad idea.
Yeah, terrible.
I would invest in brakes. These things do make a lot of power, and you're putting it, you're swapping it into something that really wasn't intended to have that kind of power. So
right. This is going to have what, 4?
Yeah. So this is a Gen 2 4 performance crate motor. Tuning all, it should low forward, low mid forward.
So like 420, 440, and this chassis originally had what?
Yeah, it
not
was
even 200.
It was not designed for all that.
Yeah, it didn't even have 200 horsepower.
Yeah.
And you're more than doubling it.
Yeah. So you want to be able to stop it.
Yes.
It's better to have too much than too little.
Okay, so if you're doing like a Fox body or something older and you want to use hybrid boost,
that's the way to go. You got room for it.
Okay.
You're gonna make your power steering line. You've already got the rack for it.
Right.
There's actually fittings you can buy. I think you can get them anywhere now. Amazon. There's a handful of different places that make the fittings that go into the power steering rack that change it over to a 680N line.
Okay.
You can make all your own lines and put it wherever you want. Best pleases you. Power by the hour, so the bracket that goes on the side of the engine where you mount a reservoir, basically right here.
Nice.
So you just adapt over to it, and it's easy. The Fox body stuff and the new age stuff is the easiest Coyote swap you can do.
Good. That's good to know. So we've gone over the 3 S's: stopping, steering, and starting. How do we get this power to the ground? We got transmissions. Are we limited to just Coyote ones, or what all?
There are a plethora of transmissions that you can use on these things. You can, 6R80, 10R80, anything 4654 shares the same bell housing as Coyote as well.
Okay.
T45, 3650, T56, any spec of T56, the Magnum, the Viper spec, no matter, because the bell housing is all the same.
Nice.
All that stuff. There, TR6060 from the GT500, you can use it. There's a lot of good options for transmissions on Fords, and they're Fords, so they're good transmissions.
Yeah, so you got plenty of options. If you want a 6-speed, you got a 6-speed option. You got 5-speed options. You got 10R80, 6R80, all the automatic options too. What about cooling?
So cooling,
What do you recommend?
A lot of people get hung up on cooling. They get hung up on like trying to find the biggest and the baddest radiator, and people will spend upwards of $1,000 on these radiators, and stuff like that, and like these 4-core radiators like that. You don't need all that. That is so much more than what this actually needs to be. If you look at like my Bullet or my wife's 2015, the radiator on these cars are very small. Granted, that car has a ton of airflow going through it, and that's another key factor of the swap that you're doing is the airflow. This one we're going to use a panel that comes in here, and it's basically help kind of funnel in the air to the radiator. You don't need no massive $1,000 radiator. You can get a good Champion radiator. I know Power by the Hour has a really good setup where they sell a fan and a radiator. It's a Champion radiator, and it's affordable. It's a few $100s, but it's a good system. You have an engine that it usually runs around 210 or so, and you have aluminum block, aluminum head, everything is plastic. It disperses heat pretty well for what it is.
Standing here, I can see that there looks like stainless headers, long tubes. And are they made for this car, or are they custom, or?
So these are kind of a mix of both.
Okay.
The customer, he sourced a lot of his own parts he found these headers. I can't remember who made them. He found they were nice stainless headers, but they hugged the transmission a little too close to where he wanted it. He took these headers to Chuck Lawrence machine shop out in Dallas, and they custom made a set with this car and the engine in place to fit this car for the application needed.
Okay.
That's not always the case. BBK, Cooks, Speed Engineering, there's a lot of companies that sell swap headers in certain more popular applications, especially Mustang, especially Fox bodies, especially New Age Mustang. They sell it, they're already ready to go. You ain't got to spend all the time to do all this shit. So it's already been engineered, it's already ready to go.
So
most of the stuff from like the transmission on back, exhaust wise, you can still use all the factory stuff.
Okay, so we went over exhaust. What does it take to get, you know, an older car like this or the bullnose F-150 we did? What do you have to do to the fuel system to get it to run?
So this car has a baffled fuel injection tank. It's an air motive tank. It comes with their in-tank pump.
Okay.
And it's always recommended in-tank. You can run the external pumps. In my experience, they're noisy, they get hot, and then you start losing fuel. You lose fuel, you know, you're in a world of hurt. And then we will run an external regulator. I know where the fuel pressure is at. I ain't got to worry about it. We'll deadhead it at the regulator, which means fuel runs, it gets pumped up to the regulator. The regulator will have a return that comes out the back of it, and then the other end of the regulator goes to the rail.
So the swapping this into Fox body New Edge, I'd just upgrade the fuel pump.
I would recommend the other cover tank because it's a baffle tank.
Yep.
And I would run a single air motive 340, plenty of fuel pressure for it, and you're golden. Put your aftermarket regulator on there, so and then run the return bank.
Nice.
You can even still you can still use that factory feed line. All you gotta do is you gotta buy one line, one hose, and just run it back to the tank.
Yeah.
You can buy in the New Age or the Fox body, you can buy the hats, the Vision X. Lethal sells a lot of hats for them. The 4 hat, you can do that. I've personally seen and done it. You can run bulkheads in the top of the hat and make your own return and still use the factory hat.
Oh, really? Nice. Very cool. Now that we've gone over how to make everything work, how do we see that everything is working in the dash?
Gauges. Yep. You can make your factory stuff work in a lot of different applications. I know in the New Edge they sell a harness to make your factory gauges work. You can do a little bit of wiring manipulation and also make the factory cluster work. But there is a company called Dakota Digital, and they sell a gauge cluster for damn near everything. And it is the easiest system to me because you're running one sender, your low pressure sender, and that's it. Everything else will run off what Dakota Digital supplies as a BIM module, and it gives you your coolant temp, your speed, tack, your voltage, everything.
Very cool. This car, does it have Dakota Digital in it?
This car is using Coyote Digital.
Very cool. So, talking about the inside of the car, we got the gauges, how those read. Can we do AC? Will this car have AC?
Yeah. So this car, they actually had the body shop shave the firewall in this car.
Right.
And it kind of set everything back. The original firewall in these cars sits
I see.
up, and you will have like your fan and everything that'll be right there. Yep, that's where it would be at. They've shaved all that so that it would match the rest of the firewall and it's flush. That's okay, but that gives me a lot of clearance problems as well. The customer of this car did his own transmission tunnel and stuff like that too. So I was in a lot of bad ground for room to have. So I ended up
gives you more room out here, but less room in here.
So the box I used this is classic auto air system. It's a really good system. I'll put this system on probably 20 or 30 cars.
I've used it a few times, some Camaros and everything.
In this situation, I ended up having to cut the spot wheels out the dash, pull the dash out, mount the box, and then put it back in there. Not the most desired application.
Right, but it fits.
But it fits. Now you have to see a bad evaporator heater core from classic auto air, thankfully. So hopefully they ain't ever gonna come back out. But in a lot of applications, a lot of Coyote Swap applications, you can make your stock AC stuff work with it.
Like a New Edge, does that bolt up or?
Bolt up, kind of. So there's a company that sells the fittings for the Coyote hoses, basically for the compressor, and I think it's called cold hose. I'm sure there's a handful of more now.
Oh yeah.
But it gives you everything to where you can kind of adapt and make your own AC lines and make everything fit to where you need it to fit.
Is the Fox body a lot like the new Edge, or is it different?
It is similar. Late model restoration sells a whole kit that is just straightforward, and there's a couple other companies out there that sell a kit that kind of tucks everything in the inner fenders.
Nice.
So yeah, it kind of hides, cleans up everything.
Yeah, I love that with these cars that you can still run AC even though it's not in the intended car that the engine was for.
Yeah, that's the only thing that, like I said, the majority of this swap is wiring. That's just one more added thing on the wiring side of things. Is I have yet to find a swap harness that adapts fan control for AC. Whenever you turn on your AC, the fan should come on, the high pressure is building up, and the fan keeps it cool. I've yet to see a swap harness include that kind of wiring. So, like for example, this harness is the Ford Power Pack harness. I personally don't like Ford's Power Pack. Their fan seems to be a little too low of a relay system for it. So what I do personally is I will take the fan lead that comes off of it. You're supposed to run that fan lead straight to the fan. What I do is I run it to a separate relay that turns that ignition source basically into a ground trigger. That ground triggered relay will then trigger a 70 amp fan relay. So whenever that 70 amp fan relay sees that it's grounded, it will turn on the fan. And then my AC switch wiring will also be, I'll have another lead off it that ground triggers another relay that will also go to the fan relay, it'll tie in with it. So that way, anytime your AC turns on, it'll turn on that fan. It'll ground that relay, it'll turn on that fan.
Very nice.
So you can budget build one of these cars in your garage. You're gonna run over a lot of hurdles.
Yeah.
And a lot of things that other people are done. Luckily, we live in the world of social media and the internet, and you can learn anything you want
Super quick.
by Googling it.
Yeah, it's all out there.
But there's a lot of things that Googling is not going to do for you. So you can Google all these things. You can Google wire touch and all that thing, but Google doesn't teach you how to go about it. Some things can't be Googled. When you pay a shop, you pay myself to do it. I'm gonna give you things that I know you can't Google and do yourself because it just takes so much experience to do that. This is an art form. This is something I've done, for many years, and it's something that I give back whenever I do the cars or build the cars. That is somewhere they can take it, and it's not the run of the mill of all the other cars you can see there.
Right.
This is not going to be an average car, average swap. When you pay the shops to do it, it's expensive. For sure.
But you're saving yourself the headache.
You're saving yourself the headache. You don't have to learn all these things. You're saving yourself the headache of screwing something up too. It's really easy to screw one of these things up. I've seen them try to do their own harnesses and burn things down. I've seen people time these. I've seen people put cams in them and time them wrong. These don't time like any other Ford-based engine. They're different. And I've seen people bend valves by timing them wrong.
That's not a cheap fix either.
No, it's not. You're equal in the head. You're learning a lot then.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, the other thing you're paying the shop for is figuring out which brake system you need for your application, what power steering, how to get this in here, what mounts we're using, everything.
You're paying for the knowledge, and sure, you can do it yourself, but
you're going to spend a lot of time on the internet, a lot of time asking friends, a lot of time asking people on the internet how to do this when, you got to know, is it worth it to do it yourself, or would you rather someone else do it and get it done right?
Yeah.
So,
it all depends I think it depends a lot on the application. If you're doing this in something, me and you both have done our own personal swaps and everything that we have. So it's hard to tell somebody not to try it whenever you've personally done it. But, I like to think that things like this are of their own spectrum. Like, I don't work on general maintenance. This is all I do is just specialized, different things. I do swaps mostly and wiring. So it takes a lot to learn that skill trade. This guy, he's a retired guy, and this guy's a great example. He is a mechanic. He's been a mechanic his entire life, and he is extremely mechanically inclined. He's retired. He doesn't feel like building a car. He doesn't. He knows a lot of things, but he doesn't know.
For what, 20, 30 years?
He did the front suspension. He did. You know, he's done a lot of it. He gave it to me basically for all the hard stuff to do, and that's fine because that's the shit I like to do.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell someone at home to not try it, but I can also see where a lot of people are willing to, you know, pay the person whose job it is to do it.
Yes.
So I've probably done a few dozen swaps at this point.
Yeah, I mean, there's the Ecoboost Buick. There's been how many Coyote swaps and how many different things? LS swaps, Cobra swaps.
My own vehicles, my 88 IROC is an LS, my Mustang, my 02 GT is a Terminator swap.
Yep. You gave me all the knowledge for my Terminator swap.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff that you have done that not everybody can say that
this
they've
is
done.
what gets you the art, you know, this is what does it, is the experience. So that's where I get back where I say it's hard to tell someone not to do it, because some people may not know what they're good at until they do it.
Right. Yeah, and that's if this is something you want to learn,
Follow me,
do it.
Stop and do it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to ever discourage anyone away from trying it themselves, because you never know when that's like the next chip foods or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
You just don't know what these people are capable of. So especially if you're like young or something like that, hell yeah, go try it.
Yeah.
You know, you got like a new age, you got a Fox body, go do it. Go swap it.
Let's do it.
You know, it's fine.
We'll wrap this up.
Yeah.
So, thank you for your time. Thank you for all your knowledge and experience and sharing it with us and everyone at home. Yeah. So this is Jamie Bell, runs Southern Performance, and this is what he does.